Just a moment, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Do I have to make it present? You see it as a full screen, right? Okay. So thank you for coming into the post-mortem sessions for today. So today I would like to give you the overview of the post-mortem that I solved for the last month. This is the problem about the deletion of the tenant cluster FCRs, and it was resulting in the failing the reinstall of the chart operator. So there's a two problems. This is actually, but we will find it out in the next slide. So what happened actually? So we thought that someone had deleted all the apps in the cluster namespace in the control plane. And in this case, normally we believe the cluster operator reinstalls all the FCRs. But surprisingly, we found the problem chart operators was not recovered from the previous deletion. And because of that, all other apps were pending status, stuck in the pending status, since chart operators could not reconcile all the chart CRs in the tenant cluster. So I divided by the two steps to solve it. The first one is looking into the reason why the chart operator was not recovering from the previous deletion. And the second one, this is the most important thing. So find it out who really deleted FCR. Is it human or kind of the components from ourselves? So I need to find it out. So first one, I think I need to give you some more overview about the manage step world. So as you see in the left side, this is the app operator. App operators is always installed inside, always living in the control plane side. And whenever we had a new tenant cluster, app operator try to install this chart operator inside it first. And this chart operator have a job to watch the chart CR in the giant form namespace in the tenant cluster, and it installs the Helm release inside of the tenant cluster. So this 2 is a little bit old because we are using the Helm 3 these days. But I think I need to point it out. There's a chart operator chart CR. The chart operators reconcile it. So this means is that whenever we need to update it or delete this chart operator, we also need to perform these operations by editing or deleting chart operator chart CR. And why chart operator was not recovering? So there's a finalizers problem actually. So I give it a little bit about the questions. So who manages the finalizers in the chart CR? This is the operator who reconcile into the chart CR, of course. So chart operator itself. So let's say someone deletes the chart operator FCR. This will result in the deletion of the chart operator chart CR in the tenant cluster. So chart operator itself will kill itself. But there's one problem. So it could not manage to clean up finalizers on its own chart CRs after deletions, because the chart operator's part is already dead. It's already cleaned up. So there's no chances to clean up the finalizers. So what does it mean? So finalizers is still there. So what? So chart operator chart CRs is kept finalizers. So it also keeps the deletion timestamps too. So, and this means is that earlier I say that app operator try to install chart operator inside the tenant cluster if there's just nothing inside. So it means is that app operator will reinstall chart operators after deletions, but spawn the chart operator will see this is the deletion timestamp on its chart operator chart CR. So it will be got deleted afterwards. So this was the reason why it got stuck in the pending status and didn't reboot it correctly. And the second problem, who deleted FCR in the cluster namespaces? So there's one problem. So I tried to see the Kubernetes audit logs inside of the AWS control plane, of course. But there's a problem because it happened quite a long time ago, likely 2 or 3 weeks ago. So there's no OD logs inside. It was already cleaning up. And I saw that we having some fluentd component to uploading all the OD logs to the CloudWatch. But unfortunately, this was not working almost 2 months. So when the instances have happened, we don't have the logs. We don't have any kind of the OD logs inside the CloudWatch. And there's no recent events at the moment that I'm looking into this post-mortem. But luckily, a few days later, there's the same incident. So I luckily get a log from the cluster operator. So this is the cluster operator from the legacy cluster, Talos. And I see that there are just some deletions as commented as the trigger. So as you see that is the second line, the U updated patch, computed 8 apps as CRs is deleted. This is the resource from calculating the default apps for the tenant cluster. And we do nothing, but it actually find it out that need to delete 8 FCRs. So it actually our components is to command to delete all the FCRs. But why? So I need to look into that. And there's one resource about the migrations as checking part. So probably you know that there's a chart config CRD where we are using for the old days, but we are moving into the chart CR. So there's one migration logic inside the cluster operator. And whenever we are getting the timeout from this migration logic, we need to actually return it after wrapping the context with a resources canceled context. But we actually forgot to wrap it out correctly in the line number 96. So whenever the timeout came out, we returned nothing, and it results into cluster operator data mine to delete all the FCRs inside. So from the first lesson, from the first problem, what we learned. So because it's the app operator is taking apart to install the chart operator if it's nothing except the tenant cluster. So it also has to be the cleanup, the chart operator, whenever someone triggers deletions. Because as I said, the chart operator try to kill itself, but it's not enabled to, it can clean it up the finalizers on its own chart CR. So I think it's just better to clean up from the app operator side. And the second lesson, so I see that it could happen. So everybody could have the bad code inside of someone else's. So it could be just a mistake. But what we really need to do is just keeping the logs. So it doesn't matter if it's Kubernetes as the OD logs or kind of the operator logs. So we need to keep it sizes so somewhere else. We need better, longer periods to keep it this kind of logs inside of the kind of the CloudWatch, I would say. And I think we need a monitoring of our monitoring stacks. So whenever the fluentd is not working correctly, I think we have to be pages by this alert. And I think this is the reason. So it could happen. So we could put some bug without our notice, but absent of logs are a real disaster, I would say. So this is all the things I prepared. So any question?
First, thanks for the presentation. It was cool, the diagram that you saw. But I have something like, I guess our login stack is not the best one. And for the audit logs, we are relying on the customer, like adding this forwarder. So it's not something by default. Like we don't enforce customers to forward all the audit logs to CloudWatch or the login Azure solution, but we recommend them. So that's one of the things that maybe we can consider. I think it's important in the future to do.
Yeah.
Especially because customers now have access to control plane API, so they can do any action like delete app or something, and we don't know what or who did it. So.
Yeah, in general for the logging, I'm just not aware about the current state. Where do we store our internal logs? Do we have still an Elasticsearch on the control plane, or how is this done?
So for AWS, what we are doing is we don't use Elasticsearch, but we use the Fluentd solution to forward the logs to CloudWatch. So there is an option.
Okay.
There is an option in installation. Cool. There is an option in installation that you say, okay, forward to CloudWatch or forward to S3, and then they are using us as data storage S3 or CloudWatch. You can enable for all the components, like all our containers, for the audit logs and for the SSH logs.
Yeah. And what is the retention period for the logs?
It depends on the customer. Like I think by default, CloudWatch is 3 months. So yeah, it will be 3 months. But for example, Shutterstock set this up to 6 months. I think in S3, if you don't rotate anything, it will keep it forever. So yeah, until customer does not complain about the cost. Yeah.
I think in general, but yeah, if Team Atlas takes over next year, yeah, for audit logs, I just read some articles, and the idea is that you need to be a bit more. You need to check for privacy stuff, and so because you can see when someone logs in. I mean, this is needed if you want to find out some stuff, but it shouldn't be like easily accessible like other logs. Yeah, and then there also in theory is something like signing and making sure no one can change stuff there. But yeah, this is, I guess, an epic story and part of what Team Atlas then needs to take care of. Yeah, just as a side note.
So far,
yeah, no, good points. We need to sort of take it into account. Yeah.
So far, we are talking about Kubernetes audit logs, right?
Yep. I think, for example, in Germany, there's a law that you are not allowed to track closely what your people are doing, like in terms of are they like really working and at what time did someone what. Of course, you need this if someone had troubles with the cluster, and so certified people should be able to look into this, but it shouldn't be just general logs where everyone can check. Not important for this case and for our stuff so far, just something to keep in mind that audit logging might be a bit more, it has more restrictions than normal logging. Yeah, but what's interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just thank you for the presentation. I mean, this is interesting to see, and good screenshots you took to see the different parts. Just thank you for that.
Yeah, it was kind of the layer problems, is because it's most of the problems is what we have in the postmortem is coming from the upstream. So something kind of the core DNS or something like that. But this is the layer problem that coming out from the layer components is from the giant spawn, the chat operator, cost operator actually. So this is the layer experiences for me as well.
Yeah, I have a thought right now, and to see what you think, or you have maybe a plan in development. But I mean, at some point, maybe there will be like a protection on the apps, or yeah, like some apps should I don't know, maybe be like not able to be deleted for anyone else by us, like I don't know, Nginx or CoreDNS. And the ones that are installed by customers, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, probably idea around this could be that we by default are not always running as system admin, or how is it, master admin? I don't know how it is called, but we should run like with some less credentials, and only if we really need to work on the hard stuff, we would use credentials on the system level. So we could change RBAC and stuff around the apps that shouldn't be deleted. I think this would be the right way instead of having the operator intervening. Just for ourselves, have credentials so that we can't shoot ourselves in the foot or be explicit if we say we know what we are doing. And this could be a good or best practice through the company.
Okay, then if we don't have more questions, what about the stop recording at the moment?
Okay.
Thanks.